Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Jai. Radhamadava ki. Jai. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. What more is there to say but Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You all know the drill. Let's do these together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mutirayat Nasta Prayesha Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. And the translation together. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. John, what else?
Oh, and Srila Prabhupada translate.
How do you by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. And I'm going to say a little prayer here that most of you may know. You could say it along with me. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshru Unmilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master kindly opened up my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So let's get into the reading. We're starting chapter 20, verses 1 through 15. Is that correct? Okay. So actually, before we do it, we should just have a little recap. It's been very common in these Bhagavatam classes as of lately to recap the past classes, and I think it would be especially beneficial today because we had a pretty busy weekend with, Island Boys and Pizza Girls and everything in between. So maybe would anyone like to share what's been going on the past couple classes, and particularly focusing on the last one that we just had?
I'm not sure which one was the last one we had, but I was going to say the battle between Hiranyaksha and Varaha.
Heard about how Hiranyaksha was trying to capture the Lord in his arms, but he would find that the Lord is always standing outside his arms. So we had a discussion on how only the devotees can capture the Lord, and then on Friday we gave a class on how Hiranyaksha was killed because Lord Raha slapped him on the root of his ear. I guess that's here.
Yeah.
And he died, and his eyeballs like bulged out of his socket. And that's a nice description. And then Brahma is offering prayers. I think Brahma offered some prayers.
Yeah, he fell over like a tree, I think. What's the exact? Anyone else? No? Okay. Okay, John? Yeah, go ahead.
Details that it was the battle of the century, so the whole universe was present to watch the fight between them.
Yeah, it says in text 26 of chapter 19 that Hiranyaksha fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. And has anyone here heard of the show One Punch Man? It's a fairly popular anime, and in that there's a character. The main character has a lot of opulences. Particularly, he's very renounced and also very strong. And he has like the titular ability of being able to defeat his enemies with just one punch, and it takes no effort for him really. And Krishna is kind of like that, and we see that in this pastime of Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha. Krishna just slaps him at the root of the ear after toying with him for so long, pretending to, feigning like losing. He's dropping his club. All the demigods and Brahma, everyone's getting so nervous. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is Krishna really going to be defeated by this demon? But yeah, at the end of the day, it only took one punch. And the same with Kamsa, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken, in the wrestling ring. Krishna and Balaram are in there to defeat the wrestlers that Kamsa assigns to try to kill them. And then Krishna just pulls Kamsa down from his little like observation podium thing and then just punches him once and then he's dead. He's dead. Is that what happens? Correct? Okay. I've never read it explicitly, so I'm just making sure. Okay, let's read. That was an excellent recap, everybody. Thank you for your contributions. So, you know the drill also. We'll start, I guess, men's side, ladies' side, and we can begin with Jonathan on verse 1.
Chapter 20, Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Text 1. Sri Sananka inquired, "Oh, Sutta Goswami, after the earth was again situated in its orbit, what did Shiva Yuva Swayambhuva Manu do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on?"
Shaunaka Rishi inquired about Vidura, who was a great devotee and friend of Lord Krishna, and who gave up the company of his elder brother because the latter, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord.
I would like to stop right here, just briefly. I may do this a couple more times as we read, just to highlight some things that Prabhupada says in the purports that we won't cover. But in this particular purport, Prabhupada says that as a devotee, Vidura showed by example that anywhere Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. So if we remember earlier in, I think it was the end of the second canto, beginning of the third canto, we understand that the story of Vidura, he is living in the palace with Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, all the Kauravas, and some circumstances happen. Obviously, Dhritarashtra and his family are not taking the advice of Krishna, and Prabhupada says that in the purport as well. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, between the Pandus and the Kauravas, they refused to accept his counsel. Therefore, Vidura was unsatisfied with them and left the palace. And there were some other things like Dhritarashtra making offenses, Duryodhana making offenses to Vidura that gave him some encouragement to leave and go on pilgrimage, which is what has allowed this conversation between him and Maitreya to arise. But yeah, the point is that anywhere that Krishna is not being respected is not a place fit for human habitation. And this is something that Prabhupada says And we hear it that coming to the standard of following the four regulative principles, for instance, is not like necessarily, that's where like human life begins. Everything less than that is animal life. And so I don't know why I brought that up, just to make that connection. Honoring Krishna, human life, as jivas were meant to honor Krishna because we're his parts and parcels and his servants. Okay, go on.
Vidura was born from the body of Vedas and was not less than he. Thus he accepted the lotus feet of Krishna wholeheartedly and was attached to his devotees.
Vidura was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places, and at last he reached Haridwar, where he met the great sage who knew the signs of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Shaunaka Rishi therefore asked, "What more did Vidura inquire from Maitreya?"
Shaunaka inquired about the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. There must have been many narrations of the spotless pastimes of the Lord. The hearing of such narrations is exactly like bathing in the water of the Ganges, where it can free one of all sinful reactions.
O Sutta Goswami, all good fortune to you. Please narrate the activities of the Lord, which are all magnanimous and worth glorifying. What sort of devotee can be satiated by hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord?
On being asked to speak by the great sages of Nyamasaraya, the son of Harsana, Sutta Goswami, whose mind was absorbed in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, said, "Please hear what I shall now speak."
Sutta Goswami continued, Vidura, the descendant of Bharat, was delighted to hear the story of the Lord, who, having assumed by his own divine potency the form of a boar, has enacted the sports of lifting the earth from the bottom of the ocean and differently killing the demon Hiranyaksha. Vidura then spoke to the sage as follows.
Vidura said, "Since you know of matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings?"
Vidura inquired, "How did the Prajapatis, such progenitors of living entities as Marichi and Swayambhuva Manu, create according to the instructions of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe?"
Did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their respective wives? Did they remain independent in their action, or did they all jointly produce it?
Maitreya said, when the equilibrium of the combination of the three modes of nature was agitated by the unseen activity of the living entity, by Mahavishnu and by the force of time, the total material elements were produced.
As impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of three kinds, evolved from the Mahatattva, in which the elements of Rajas predominates. From the ego in turn evolved many groups of five principles.
Separately unable to produce the material universe, they combined with the help of the energy of the Supreme Lord and were able to produce a shiny egg.
For 1,000 years, this shiny egg lay on the waters of the causal ocean in the lifeless state. Then the Lord entered it as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu.
Jai, that's it. So now we'll concentrate on the text in purport to number 9, text number 9. So please repeat after me. Vidura uvacha Prajapati pati shristva Praja sarge prajapatin Kim Arabatame Brahman Prabhuya Vyakta Margavit. Please chant. Anyone else? Vidura Urvacha Prajapati Pati Prajasarge Prajapati Kimarapati Prabhuya Vyaktamar. Okay. Let's do the word for word translation together. Vidura Uvacha. Vidura said, Prajapati Pati, Lord Brahma, Srishtva, after creating, Prajasarge, for the purpose of creating living beings, Prajapati, the Prajapatis, Kim, what? Arabhata, started, me, to me. Brahma, O holy sage, Prabhuhi, tell, Avyakta Margavit, nor of that which we do not know. And translation together. Vidura said, since you know of matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings? Would someone like to read the purport, please? Cersei. Oh. We're all dying.
Okay.
That's the whole class. Haribol.
Significant here is the word avyakta margavit, one who knows that which is beyond our perception. To know matters beyond one's perception, one has to learn from a superior authority in the line of disciplic succession. Just to know who is our father is beyond our perception. For that, the mother is the authority. Similarly, we have to understand everything beyond our perception from the authority who actually knows. The first avyakta margavit, or authority, is Brahma, and the next authority in disciplic succession is Narada. Maitreya Rishi belongs to that disciplic succession, so he also is avyakta margavit. Anyone in the bona fide line of disciplic succession is avyakta margavit, a personality who knows that which is beyond ordinary perception.
So the first thing that I would like to extract and talk a little bit about in this purport is this analogy of superior authority. And in order to understand who your father is, you have to accept the superior authority of your mother. And so there are three main types of ways that we can obtain information Would anyone like to list those three? And I don't know the Sanskrit word that refers to all of them, but anyone, you know what I'm talking about? So, Cersei, you have one? Shabda? That's Shabda?
I don't remember the words either, but it's like when you get authority from a person or get information from an authority who's higher than you, like a teacher or a guru or a parampara.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Shabda through scripture. And then there's direct perception. What's the Sanskrit word for that? Pratiksha. And then Anuman, which is inference. So, sorry if that was a little confusing. I didn't know how to refer to it specifically. But of these three, sense perception, inference, and scriptural revelation, scriptural revelation is understood in our tradition to be the most, what's the word? The most trustworthy or the most reliable, because it's coming down in disciplic succession directly from Krishna. The Vedas and particular literatures that we focus on in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, like the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, are either directly spoken by Krishna, or they were written by incarnations of Krishna, or they directly describe conversations and different pastimes of Krishna. So there is no authority greater than Krishna, obviously. And because these literatures deal with him directly and are revealed in a tradition that goes back to the actual unfolding of these pastimes and revelation of these teachings, then we can accept it. Just in the same way that we accept who our father is because of our mother's saying so. If our mother is a nice and trustworthy lady, then we're not going to doubt when she says that this is your father. Obviously, we aren't alive. We aren't present at the time of conception. So there's no way for us to really know. And in the world, there are some philosophers that are of this opinion that maybe we could call it naturalism or materialism, where the main focus is actually on sense perception and inference, but that is fallible because we are prone to four particular defects, being materially conditioned souls. And that is that we are, would anyone like to name them? Kartikeya. Just name one, and then we can go around. Let's see if we can get all of them.
We have imperfect senses.
Imperfect senses, that's the first one.
Subject to illusion.
We're illusion.
We're illusion, that's the second one. Bruce.
Prone to cheating.
And then last one? Making mistakes. And we can see how they all play into each other. And yeah, we just know from our experience, we've all cheated others, made imperfect call due to our senses. We've all been bewildered or illusioned. We thought that something was there or something was real that was not necessarily real, like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, perhaps. I think maybe our parents put us into illusion with that. It starts from a very young age. And it's amazing. Santa Claus, I mean, it's a cool tale. I mean, it's kind of like jolly and jovial. He's a kind man that brings presents to people, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it always kind of caught me off guard. Like when I was in the 6th grade, I still believed in Santa Claus, actually. So I was like 11 years old or 12 years old, which is pretty old for most people. And I remember I was talking to my sister about it, and she was like, "Hey, Steven, you don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, right?" And I was like, what? I was like, what are you what are you talking about? Who's been bringing these presents all my life? So in that way, my family put me into illusion. So I hope they aren't listening right now. So yeah. So I didn't do a perfect job of explaining the superiority of uh, scriptural revelation to the other means of obtaining knowledge and obtaining information. But thankfully, you guys all have your own experience and many other speakers and teachers that can deliberate on this point better. Moving on, though, with this understanding that scriptural revelation and this teaching in the disciplic succession is the most reliable source of knowledge, I would like to point us out to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. And so we understand that they're nitya siddhas, or they're eternally liberated souls. And I won't describe particularly what their position is in the spiritual world, but what we understand is that they are direct servants of Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. And so just like how they serve Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan when Lord Chaitanya descends as the combined form of Radha and Krishna, the Goswamis descend as well, and they serve him in Chaitanya Lila. And this happens with many other devotees in Chaitanya Lila. They are present in both Krishna Lila and Chaitanya Lila. And the six Goswamis are of particular importance because they were direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, particularly in the CC, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes their conversations together and how Lord Chaitanya delivers the Siddhanta, delivers the teaching to them of our tradition. And yeah, it gets carried down from them. And that was only like 550 years ago, which is pretty recent for like religious traditions of the world. I mean, if you think of Judaism, perhaps it's 2000, 2500 years old, maybe more. And Christianity is about 2000 years old. Islam is about 1500 years old. But Gaudiya Vaishnavism, obviously Krishna Bhakti and Vishnu Bhakti has been being practiced since time immemorial, as we understand from the Bhagavatam. But this particular manifestation happening in this world's Kali Yuga period that we're in right now, in the time period of the, what is it, which Manu are we in right now? Anyways, Vishwaku? Vivaswatu. Vivaswatu Manu. So yeah, time is really, there's a lot of time in the material world. There's a lot of time in these yugas, in the cycles of yugas, in Lord Brahma's day. So we're zoomed in on our lives are occupying a very small portion, but it's a very significant portion because Lord Chaitanya has come. And so the six Goswamis are direct servants of Radha and Krishna, and they've come to the material world to serve Lord Chaitanya and to serve us really by being our spiritual masters and describing to us exactly how to serve Krishna. And there are two particular literatures written by Rupa Goswami that Srila Prabhupada has translated, the Nectar of Devotion and the Nectar of Instruction, in which they're sort of like, they're like two handbooks of understanding what bhakti is and understanding how to execute it properly, which is understanding bhakti, Nectar of Devotion, and how to execute it properly, Nectar of Instruction. And so, yeah, it's just amazing that these servants of Krishna in the spiritual world have come to this material world and they've laid it out exactly for us. Like, don't eat too much, don't be greedy, don't over endeavor for things, don't associate with non-devotees, things like that, different instructions and different guidelines in order to help us grow in our bhakti, to help facilitate our bhakti. And one of the things in the Nectar of Devotion that Rupa Goswami outlines is the 5 potent processes of bhakti. So would anyone like to name those 5? And these, I actually know these ones, not like the other things that I'm asking you to name, but so now I just want you guys to name it for participation. Associating with devotees. Potent processes of bhakti.
Living in a holy place.
Living in a holy place. Chanting Hare Krishna. Worshipping the deity. And doing what we're doing right now, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. So those are the 5 potent processes. And why did I bring that up? Because so the cool thing about the 5 potent processes is that they're all present in the morning program that Srila Prabhupada gave to us. We read the Bhagavatam, we chant Hare Krishna, we associate with devotees, hopefully, unless if you're by yourself. But even if you are by yourself and you're reading the Bhagavatam, you are associating with those personalities through their through the sound vibration. And then we're worshiping the deity, and what did I miss? And we're living yes, exactly. Living in a holy place. We're in a holy place, we're in a temple, executing all these activities. And so yeah, Srila Prabhupada is so merciful for giving us this process by which we can execute all of the 5 potent processes of devotional service every morning together and grow in our bhakti. And in this way, the teachings coming down the disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya to us is just getting refined and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And they say that when, I've never tried this actually. I don't know if anyone has tried this, but apparently it is said that if you eat a fruit that has been already eaten, or like a part of it has been eaten by a parrot, it's even sweeter. And so there are many parrots in our tradition that are reciting the glories of Krishna and his associates and passing this down to us. And so the fruit just keeps getting sweeter and sweeter, actually, as the generations go by and teachings are passed down. So, Govinda has a question. Someone get this man a mic.
Might make you think.
You always do this to me.
But it also made me think when the question came to my mind. Why is it that the fruit is sweeter? Because, like, for example, if Lord Chaitanya is right here, and let's say he would tell me all the instructions versus like another devotee, I would think that it would be sweeter if Lord Chaitanya would, tell me that instruction directly. So can you explain why it's sweeter?
No. I can't explain that. I don't know the answer to that. My speculation, well, actually, if it's Lord Chaitanya saying it to you directly, I don't know. That's tough. Maybe someone like Rasika Prabhu should answer this for us.
Because Krishna has willed it that we should receive his mercy from the devotees, through the devotees. And it's a principle that we see also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the Panchatattva pours out all of the mercies of love of Godhead in the conjugal mood, but the more that they're partaken of, the more they increase, the sweeter they become. It becomes like a tsunami, and it engulfs the whole universe. But the sweetness increases as the as the mercy and the Siddhanta is passed from one generation to the next, becomes sweeter and sweeter. It's just that the Lord has willed it so that it would be that way.
Okay, let's say, okay, we have 3 people raising their hands. Maybe Kunti, I think you did yours first. Also on this point.
I know there's a written answer somewhere which I forgot because I read about it. But what came to my mind immediately is that when the devotee received the knowledge, they and realize it, there's their own love that's put into it. So like if Radharani talks about her love for Krishna, it's sweeter than if Krishna talks about love for him, you know? And then if another devotee talks about his love for Krishna, then it's sweeter. And so when it's passed down in the disciplic succession, not only do you get Krishna's input on love for him, but you get that devotee, then that devotee, then that devotee, then that devotees, and then all the accumulated love and realizations that they have, it's also transmitted to us.
You thought you wanted to say something? Thank you.
Very similar to what Kunti said, like when the knowledge is being passed on, each devotee in the disciplic succession adds their own realization also to it. So then we just keeps getting better and better. And so if Lord Chaitanya directly is giving us the knowledge, we're not gonna say, like, don't tell this to me, tell it to someone else, I'm gonna get it from them. Like we gotta listen from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it's not there, and in that way also it's a mercy for us that we're getting so many other like acharyas direct realizations for us. But if he was there, it would be wonderful to hear from him. We're not that qualified.
But also he is there because Krishna is not different from his name, forms, qualities, pastimes. When we read the CC and we read, for instance, like the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami, then it's not like Lord Chaitanya is talking to Rupa Goswami only and he's completely separate, but he's actually speaking to us also. And he's actually there present in his words and in his instructions. So in that way, he is actually talking to us directly at the same time because Krishna is not different from all the different aspects that he has, all of his different energies and manifestations. So on that point, I would like to talk a little bit of, Rasik Prabhu, you want to say something else? Sure, go for it, why not?
So Prabhupada was asked during a morning walk by Keshav Bharti Das Goswami Maharaj, is it true that the spiritual master is more merciful than Krishna? Prabhupada stopped in his tracks and he turned around with a huge smile on his face and he said, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then he spent that morning preaching on this truth that the mercy of the spiritual master is sweeter and greater than that of from Krishna directly.
Jai. So I would like to speak on that point a little bit now as well, on the idea of the devotees and receiving bhakti through the mercy of the devotees. So Nate, would you mind scrolling down a little bit in the purport to the text where it says, is this the right place? Where are we at? Well, I'm in the wrong chapter. Avyakta Margavit. And so in the text, it's translated by Srila Prabhupada as knower of. Actually, would you go to the word for word? That'd be better. And scroll down to the bottom. Avyakta Margavit, which is knower of that which we do not know. And Mayor, you can check my Sanskrit here, but I did a little bit of a crude literal translation of it. Avyakta means what is unmanifested or what is unknown, and marga is path, and vit means the knower. So another way that I'm translating it just for a little illustration of this point is knower of the unknown path. And the unknown path is bhakti, because bhakti cannot be received in any other way, as far as my understanding, besides through the mercy of the devotees, through disciplic succession. And everything else in creation, in material creation, or creation in general, is accessible to the jivas. You don't need anyone to tell you how to do fruitive work and, work hard for sense gratification and die. No one has to teach you that. That's pretty common and pretty widespread these days, and often in the material world. And philosophical speculation too. You don't need anyone to teach you how to philosophically speculate about the absolute truth. It was one of my favorite things to do in the past with my friends. It's like, oh man, what if this is real? Or oh, what about that? And oh, this thing, oh, and this idea. And you create your own perspectives and philosophies and ways of looking at things. No one has to teach you how to do that. That's completely accessible to you as a conditioned soul. Whereas bhakti is hidden, and bhakti is not so easily accessible except through the avyakta marga, through someone who knows what is unknown to us. And so it's like that because bhakti needs to be protected. Bhakti needs to be protected and honored because I think, like Radhika was saying in her class last week, bhakti is actually what controls Krishna. And so even though Krishna is all-powerful and he contains all of the opulences in full, and he is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the creation of everything, he is subservient to his devotees that have completely pure, unmotivated love for him. And so for this reason, bhakti has to be hidden in the material world. It has to be safeguarded and protected because it's more powerful than Krishna himself, actually, because it controls him. And the only way that we can access bhakti is through the mercy of the devotees. And I think, at least speaking for myself, without the association of devotees, it would be impossible for me to practice Krishna consciousness in any capacity. It would be extremely difficult. And yeah, it's very important that we don't take our association with each other for granted, because we're all simultaneously inspiring each other and keeping each other engaged in Krishna service just through our association. And it's amazing. I've been learning over time, even when doing seemingly mundane things with devotees, it's completely different. It's completely different than doing it with people who do not have any sort of inclination to serve Krishna. And so, yeah, it's very special. And most of us probably see that when we go home and visit our families. I think for those of us who aren't from devotee families and may be students or younger, and we still have some connection or some stronger connection with them, and we go back and visit, then it's like, whoa, oh my God, you live like this, like forever? Like you're not chanting Hare Krishna, you're not thinking about, it's like you're not engaged in any kind of devotional service. Like, man, this is really, this is kind of lame. So it's 8:31 for overtime. I will end there, and I guess if there's time for questions, then we can have some, and I'll do my best to refer you all to someone who can answer them better than me. Prabhu. Jai Shri Shri Guru anytime.
Yeah, on that last point of doing things that are seemingly mundane in the association of devotees, yeah, I was wondering, what is the difference? Because there could be times where we are with devotees, right? But I've heard in many lectures like you're with devotees, but like where is Krishna involved? You go to the movies with the devotee, right? But how is that in any way devotional, right? So like I guess that I'm asking about like the quality of association while being around devotees.
What's different is that the 6 loving exchanges are present. And this is another thing that we receive from Rupa Goswami, like the 5 potent practices of devotional service. We also have, he gives us in the nectar of instruction 6 loving exchanges between devotees, which are to give and receive prasadam, to open one's heart and mind, reveal one's mind and confidence, and to receive one's revealing of their mind and confidence, and to receive and give service, render service unto each other. And it's my experience that that is usually what makes the difference, is that even if you're going to the movies, or if you're, I don't know, playing sports, or you're going to do something that's seemingly mundane, if there's some kind of loving exchange going on between the devotees, someone is revealing their heart to someone else, or the whole activity was arranged by someone in order to be as like a gift, a recreational gift to another person, or things like that, then it's different. Then it's not like we're all just there and we're all just exploiting each other, and I don't care about you and what you have to say, and oh, you owe me $20, and oh, here, like, give me that snack. And it's not like that usually. So that makes the difference in my opinion. Kunti, you had your hand up.
We've been talking about like association with devotees in terms of like good times together, but we know that even living with devotees and associating with devotees, there are conflicts that happen. And so I was wondering if you could say something about how conflicts with like non-devotees and conflicts with devotees is different, because then you could think, oh well, I'm here with the devotees and I don't get well with people, and this is happening, and I have the same problems that I had with the people that I had before. So how is it different? Why should you still choose the association of devotees?
So that's a great question, and I'll start with a brief story from the CC. So the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in the 5th chapter of the Adi Lila, he talks about how he had a party at his house with a bunch of devotees there. And there were particularly some devotees of Lord Nityananda who were there. One of them was Minikatana Ramdas. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother did not fully understand the position of Lord Nityananda. And he actually, he only understood Lord Chaitanya. And Minikatana Ramdas knew this, and he suspected this. And in a fit of anger, during the party, Minikatana Ramdas breaks his flute and leaves, and it's a whole scene. And these are like Chaitanya Lila devotees, and they have this like terrible, like, imagine being in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's position, you trying to arrange a home program, and then your brother offends this amazing devotee of Lord Nityananda. You're like, oh my God, like, what's going to happen now? And so I brought that up just to illustrate that this is something that happens all throughout devotee association, I suppose. There's always conflicts, even in levels like that. And one thing that is helpful is to understand that since the goal is different, the goal of serving Krishna and becoming pure in our love for him, and in our goal to serve him, that is what makes the difference. And so these things will still be present, but they're all impetuses to go further in our relationship with Krishna, to continue practicing with deeper and deeper determination, and with the understanding that Krishna is in control, and he is allowing these things to happen in order to purify us. And so one need not be discouraged, because this is something that happens, everywhere. Even with devotees in Chaitanya Lila, there is conflict like that, which is like really, that's like really heavy. And I remember Jayapataka Maharaj spoke to us 2 years ago in Mayapur, and someone asked a similar question, and he was like, it was about managerial conflicts though. And he was like, without conflicts, life would not be interesting. There would be no things would get stagnant. So Krishna gives us problems to solve so that we can deepen our love for him, because he understands that our goal is to grow closer to him. I think someone, Nate, you had your hand up third, I think.
Just to make a little comment on what Kartikeya was saying. What did Kartikeya say? Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, when Kartikeya asked this question, he mentioned the 6 loving exchanges. And I was thinking, well, those loving exchanges are happening. Well, when I was in school, I was practicing Krishna consciousness, I met friends, and we'd have loving exchanges, sharing food, not prashada, food, revealing the mind. So I think that the loving exchanges are there, but there's this Krishna factor. I don't know who gave the class, but they said this X factor, which is the Krishna factor. Do you remember who said that?
Nope.
And it's very much present in devotees, even if we're doing so-called mundane things. There is this Krishna factor that is very viscerally felt with the devotees. So I think that makes it transcendental and not mundane. And I was also thinking, it's like when sometimes we're practicing Vaishnavas, devotees, and we do try to enjoy mundane things. However, as we're practicing, we experience this higher taste, from the mellows of devotional life or mellows of bhakti, that when we're, trying to enjoy so-called mundane things, they're not as relishable only, and also we make it transcendental. Because the only difference between mundane and transcendental is Krishna. So when we connect everything to Krishna, it's fully relishable versus also, the Krishna factor. It's like the X factor.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Can I say something on that?
Yes, Prabhu.
Kalakanta said, at least one time I remember him saying, we're social creatures and we need to have a social life. So if we don't get it here, we'll go look for it somewhere else. So that can kind of be related.
Thank you too for clarifying and adding on to that point. That definitely completes this idea of what makes devotee association so wonderful and transcendental, even when doing seemingly mundane things. Out of time? We're not out of time? Okay, yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's 8:40. Okay, I didn't prepare.
Just with doing mundane activities with devotees, like going to the movies or something, it's not mundane, because if you're building a relationship that could eventually be used in service, then it's a glorious activity, even if it's seemingly like on a more material platform. Depends on the movie. But yeah, and I think sometimes if we're like forceful, like, oh, we can only do Krishna Kathan, we can only like talk about Krishna all the time, it can actually be inauthentic and ruin a relationship. So yeah, I think it's important to just like not pretend to be somewhere you're not and go to the movies when you want to go to the movies.
Yeah, just briefly on that point, I remember over the summer I was talking to someone, like a senior, and I was like, oh my gosh, when I associate this devotee, like we never talk about Krishna, like we're always just talking about our lives and things like that. Like, what do I do? Like, is this relationship gonna ruin my bhakti? And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, he was like, you guys are just normal, like having normal association, talking to each other. It's very nice, actually, to exchange like that with devotees. Seeker Prabhu's hand is up with the mic, so he's ready.
I think the theme of all these questions and comments is interesting because Prabhupada says that when we become devotees, we don't change what we do, we change the atmosphere and the reason and why we do it. So we may have all of the same things, but the character of it is everything expands from Krishna. Everything is from Krishna. Everything in the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So if we simply are if we're in the process of becoming devotees and we've surrendered to Krishna, then life becomes spiritualized. Everything in life becomes spiritualized. And there's not anything that can't be dovetailed in Krishna's service. We're not fanatics. We live life, but we live life for Krishna's pleasure. And we're still, we're human. We're in the human form of life. So we live life and we do it for Krishna. We have all the same things in our lives that mundaners have. It's just we're not doing them for mundane reasons.
Try. Live, laugh, love.
I just wanted to say thank you for the class. It was very good. And that I think it's really easy to become dogmatic in this sort of philosophy because we have all these literatures from these very highly elevated people, and we might take some things a bit too literally. And then, at least in my experience, I sort of hide away the things that I think I shouldn't be doing, like watching movies, by example. And I get sort of ashamed that I'm like, oh, I should not be watching this. This has nothing to do with Krishna. What am I doing? And then there's sort of this judgment. But then at the same time, it feels like I alienate myself from certain people from making connections. So I think it's a good realization to remember the 6 loving exchanges. Anyways, thank you.
Okay, something else? No, we're done? Are we done? You want to go?
Very easy to, just follow for the sake of following, where our internals are maybe not matching the externals. So what is a way that we can just take in our Krishna consciousness?
I don't know. Maybe one idea is to observe devotees who seem very happy. Usually that's a good sign, is that they're very happy in their practice, and inquire from them about how they practice Krishna consciousness, and inquire about how to practice in an organic and natural way, according to where we're at with our conditioning, and because there's like when you take like a rubber band or a stick, there's like the normal zone where there's no pressure, and then there's like the flex zone where you're like stretching it or bending it, and then if you bend it too far, it will break, right? So we want to always try to stay in the stretch zone where we're doing as much as we can, we're doing our best, but we're not pushing ourselves too hard, because what happens when we do that is that we break. And we see that with people, if they come, they stay in an ashram, not necessarily Krishna house, but any like ISKCON ashram, or they take up any endeavor that they're not prepared for. If they aren't ready, and it adds up, and there's this thing that they can't handle and that thing that they can't handle, and they're not like revealing their minds about it to people, and they're not trying to change the situation, then eventually they will leave. They will say, this is too much, I can't do this anymore. So we have to just be conscious of where we're at, take the shelter of those that we understand have taste and have organic practice. I hope that's helpful. Okay, let's go.